So I'm waking up this morning with lots of things swirling around because it was a very big week. Um, so this was a week of turning on the tap to abundance and flow to abundance. I've been working a lot with ease and flow in the doing part of life. And so a lot of great things happened this week. For instance, one afternoon I got just a nudge, you need to make some bliss. So I didn't hesitate. I got up and I did it. And by the end of the batch, I had an order. Someone had actually texted me and said, hey, I just put in an order, and they lived close. They wanted to pick it up, do porch pickup instead of shipping. I said, fabulous. I just finished a batch. I'll leave it outside now. And she's like, great. I'll have my husband pick it up on his way home from the gym. So it was a really beautiful lesson of just listening. Yes, I have an entire inventory process. Yes, I have basically on the wall on my board, I've got a list of all of the batches that are ready. Where there's like maybe 5 listed up there where I'm like, yeah, I'd like to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that I'd like to make another batch of. But what I found is that if I force it and sit and say, I'm just going to start working top to bottom, that's a very kind of linear way of working. And if I say, oh, great, today my calendar is free, so I'm going to set aside, and today is going to be the day I make a bunch of teas. Once again, that may not be what I'm being called to today. And so my stomach's giving me a lot of pressure right now, so I think I need to start there. I'm going to divert away from this for long enough to just be with my stomach. So my lower stomach has been having some pressure in it. Digestive stuff. I can feel it's, well, number one, could use some more fiber. I got that message pretty loud and clear. I made comfort food yesterday for my daughter, and I just felt the nudge. It would be really, really enjoyable for us. And then I don't think I really ate another meal. So yes, I had fiber. I had some kiwis. I had some oatmeal. I had some of my greens powder. But I'm one of those people that it's 45 grams a day. Like fiber and me are like besties. So if I don't get my 45 grams a day, which means really I have a very vegetable and whole grain predominant diet. And by whole grains, oats is probably the mainstay in my diet. Oats and seeds and stuff like that would be where I get a lot of that from. So vegetables, fruits, and oats and seeds. And then powders when I need to supplement, greens powders and stuff like that. If I'm just not feeling like I'm getting in quite enough, I'll throw some of that in my oatmeal or whatever to amp it up. I am a fiber girly, right? And it's really important that everybody just recognize that their bodies, there's all of this advice being thrown at us for diets, but everybody's body is completely different. And as you work through stages of healing, your body's needs will be completely different. My sister, red meat. Like, I will go to the grocery store with her and be magnetically drawn to the steak aisle. And I will be like, when's the last time you've had red meat? Because I can feel your body calling for red meat. And she'll be like, oh, it's been a few days. I really need red meat. But for me, it's all about those whole grains, the fruits, the veggies, the root veggies, the cruciferous veggies. Sometimes I'll go through periods where leafy greens are a predominant need in my diet, in which case I will literally buy a head of living lettuce, chop it off, chop it into pieces, olive oil, salt, pepper, and herbs, and I will eat that thing just like that, like the entire head of lettuce. It's like so good. And then there are times where it's like absolutely no lettuce, right? Where lettuce is just not my thing. Spinach is another on again, off again thing for me. So I really do follow whatever my body's telling me because it's eating for whatever phase of health and healing it's going through. And I'm just feeling called to tell you. So what I started doing I'm going to be hitting life on the road here in May. That's another big thing that happened this week, guys, is my van. I started to get to know her, my star, and all the little things in her that need some, either need some work, need some upgrades, or things that I need to learn how to work with. And so lots of little things have been going. I'm learning a lot about her right now, about my van, and I'm doing it in a really beautiful way because she's sitting out in my driveway. I'm not living in her full time, so I have the time and the space to be with her a little bit every day. And she's really great at telling me what she needs, and she's really great about, like, it's clear to me, like, when I was decorating her, I would touch things at the store and I would start to cry, like, this is perfect for her. Or I would walk in with something from my house or something that I thought might fit, and I would just have this feeling. I'm like, nope, it's not for her. So it's really, I'm curating and curating and curating my stuff down, and this is all connecting together. I am basically, the visual I'm seeing is a digestion process. I am digesting a life, a typical American life. I'm going to say typical American life of, a 3-bedroom house. I've had a 3-bedroom house since I've had 2 kids, boy and a girl, me. So I've had a 3-bedroom house since I could afford it post-divorce. There was a period after the divorce where I actually could not afford a 3-bedroom house. And so we smashed ourselves into a lovely little 2-bedroom, 800 square foot apartment, and the kids shared when they were really little, because that's what I could do. So I think up until age, I don't even remember. They were young still, so it wasn't. It was basically maybe a year or two, 1 to 2 years after the divorce, 1 year, and then they were able to get their own room. We started being able to rent really, really old houses in not great parts of town, duplexes that had enough rooms for them, and then we were able to rent. And then basically the market happened. I got to the point where I had enough saved up where I could pay for a down payment on a house, an inexpensive house. We bought our house for $200,000 in Minnesota, sold it 6 years later for a lot more than that, because we bought in 2016 and sold in 2022. Right before the market, when the market was still at its peak through the whole COVID, everybody's moving phase. And so that was a beautiful boon for us. But this kids have since we kind of got recovered post-divorce financially, they've been able to live in a place where they both had their own bedroom and I had mine. So typical, 3-bedroom, always not really big. I've always had like 1,500 square foot. I've always had pretty minimalistic, meaning I don't like a lot of furniture and a lot of clutter, but not minimalistic. Everything's always been warm. People will come into my houses and say, wow, there's decorated so warmly. Lots of color, lots of richness about it. So not empty, but not a lot of things. Like, we weren't a family that thrived on a lot of things. For instance, I never liked single-use appliances in the kitchen. Never lasted that long. Or gadgets. Very much about, like, how do we not, when I get to the point where I'm starting to jam drawers to close them, it's time to kind of give things away or sell them or whatever. So we weren't collectors of things, which is one of the things that allowed us to save up money the way we did. But we've always had a pretty, I would say, typical life, right? Where we've, in the last, period of time, where we've lived in a suburban home, 1,500 square foot, the dog, 2 kids. Sometimes a fence, sometimes not. I got one now. Very helpful for the dog, for the record. Totally a game changer for dogs when you have a fenced-in yard. I had never had a fenced-in yard before this, and man, is it awesome for dogs. But to downsize from that to a van, and to, basically be in the van, and I want to have all my teas with me. So to basically have all of that, it's going to be a significant downsizing process. And I have been getting nudges to start to downsize more aggressively, more quickly. But then I have other voices in my head, people saying, hey, you don't want to get rid of too much too quickly. The house is going to feel empty. But I was, really kept getting these nudges. It's time. It's time to live in that future moment. It's time to go to the summer or fall when you will be leaving the house and living in your van. And I always say summer or fall because whatever my travel is going to be somewhat interdependent on my daughter's plans, but also I think I will start traveling in the summer regardless. It's hot here in Phoenix. So last year, June, July, and August, it was really nice. I found myself on the road quite a bit. Just car camping, like nothing crazy, but I found reasons to be in California and reasons to be in the mountains and reasons to be wherever pretty regularly throughout the summer. I went to see my family up in the Midwest for a couple weeks because if you're going to drive there, you're not just going to go for a couple days, right? It's a 3-day drive just to get up there and 3-day drive back. So 6 days on the road, I'm going to spend at least 2 weeks up there, right? A week up there and a week of driving. So between all that travel, I can make a summer disappear pretty quickly and suddenly be like, oh, I got a lot of nice weather this summer. But with the van, I'm sure that's going to be even more of a thing this summer. But all that being said, that's 6 months away, right? That's 6 months away. But the downsizing is happening, right? It really feels like it is ready. It is time for that to happen. I was looking at my wardrobe I had already cut. So all this stuff is coalescing now. I wasn't quite sure what I was covering today, but I keep just getting this message of digesting and breaking things down to their component parts and then absorbing them and then putting it back together. Like I'm seeing a body digesting everything and then coming back together and then pooping it out, right? It's like literally I'm getting chills. I am literally digesting it life. I'm breaking it down to its most essential components and then bringing it back together and then letting the waste go and reabsorbing the rest back in. So I am in a stage of shedding. And downsizing is an aspect or a type of shedding. So it's happening physically, it's happening spiritually, it's happening emotionally. There is a lot working through me, a lot of healing. And with it, doors are opening. Intuitive things are happening. Like I took the van in to my RV guy to look over all the things that, I think we need to get done to have her ready for full-time living. And I was doing that whole thing where I try to micromanage other people. And I say that because it's not that I do, but it's where my energy is that of a little bit more like, my energy will be more grasping, and this is another theme we're going to talk about today. I got to download this morning because this is an important theme right now for me and for others I'm getting. So, but a big part of the work I do is knowing when to let things be, because really when you think about it, everybody is whole and perfect just the way they are. And they can deepen their understanding of their essence and in doing so become more joyful, more happy, more of their pure self. And so a lot of the work that I do, it's about holding you as completely divine, not needing to be fixed, right? Kind of not needing to problem solve. And the old me was a very good problem solver. So as a healer, it's very easy for me to be around someone and hear a struggle and immediately go into how can I help, right? And sometimes that very energy can actually be an energy that keeps me from fully seeing them as the divine person they need to be so that they can heal themselves. And sometimes miracles can happen because I lean in and I do explore how I can help, but it's more of how I can witness their transformation. There is so many different threads to this, so we're going to go all over the place, but I know it's going to come back together. Someone once told me that so one of the things that I can do, right? We all have superpowers, but we all have particular like affinities towards certain aspects of working with universal source energy, reasons that we came here, right? To be on this planet, to do this thing called life. And so with that, we have some affinities, and one of my affinities is rapid expansion. And one of the things that I can give other people is that I can see the version of themselves that they envision, and in doing so, it can be made manifest with more ease. I'm just going to say it can be made manifest. So I can work pieces in the field that basically once they kind of tell me and show me, they doesn't even have to be words sometimes. I can just see. So as an example, I was talking to someone the other day and they were talking about a friend of theirs who was feeling ready for settling down and having a partner. And I paused them to pause for a second because I could see a thread going from them to that friend of theirs. And all of a sudden things shifted and a heart formed and I saw that their partner entered their field. And I just said, oh, they're here. They're in their field now. And I could just feel that that person's vision was made manifest through the fact that their friend told me, and I had the like, okay, we're going to pause here a second because I can tell. I just feel a pull that I'm meant to witness something. And when I can witness it, I don't know what's happening, but somewhere out in the field, I know I'm working. And so my coach always tells me, she goes, you're working out in the field. I don't have to know the hows. I can just feel it. I know to pause. I know to be present. I know to watch it unfold. And then I can feel the click that something shifted. And then I know that whatever I was meant to do, whatever role I was meant to play in that person's journey, I've played, right? And I'm getting chills when I say that. Whatever role, I'm going to repeat this because someone needs to hear this. Whatever role I meant to play in that person's journey, I just played. And then I can, okay, I did it. But I did it not by doing or forcing anything or grasping at it. I did it because it made itself known to me. And then I allowed it to unfold. So yes, it is a doing, but there's also an allowance aspect and a not needing to do aspect that allows those shifts to happen. So a lot of this week was really testing me because of what was going on in my household. The downsizing, my daughter got accepted into the college of her dreams, and she signed the papers to accept, financial plans came in, all of that scary stuff, right? She's going a very different path than me, and I honor it. Like, I think it's just so freaking beautiful for her. I can feel how resonant it is for her. I love that my kids have turned out so completely different than me. And also I can see aspects of myself and their dad in them too. And but I love that they're their own people on their own path. And I think one of the reasons they were born to me was so that I could have kids that had completely different paths than me. And because I think that's a beautiful growth edge for parents, to not project, right? Or try to control, to believe, to reinforce, to build, but within someone else's construct of what good looks like for them. I think it's a really beautiful testament and test as a parent, and our ability to love people as they are in their dreams and not try to make our dreams, right? Or things that we feel in our life we wish were different, so let's force that on someone else, right? When the reality is that they're different people with different paths, and vice versa, them being born to me because of the way I move through the world, because of the level of independence, freedom, impact, etc., mission that I've always wanted. They've had a lot more independence than a lot of other people, and a lot more like, they regularly tell me that I raised them very different, for better or worse, right? There's no judgment there, but I was the right parent for them because it's right. It's going to allow them to carve their own path in a way that maybe not everyone has the opportunity to do. And that was their reason for being here. So I believe that we choose our families, right? That when we're born into this world, we choose our families. And that means all of that. That means all of the downsides, all of the tests, all of the challenges, all of the wins, all the beauty of it, that we were born into it because of how it will help us achieve our life's purpose, why we're here. That's my belief. I've just seen that work out. And even if you look at it that way, even if it's not, if you look at it that way, it completely changes how you look at the family you were born into, the family you create, the family that you choose. Is, okay, I was born into this circumstance so that I could become the best version of myself. So what about this is helping me find that? And it turns every struggle and every test into something beautiful. And I'm just going to decline that for a moment because this is real life, right? Unedited. I'm like, oh, I can call him later. So I had to sit with it a moment. I'm like, do I or do I not? Do I pause? No, I'm live. Wow. So swirl, what you guys are seeing is this downsizing process, preparing for this future of me being on the road, which is just going to be a completely different life. And I had this moment where I was suddenly like, I was in my van staring at the cupboards and I was like, yeah, I already had cut my clothes by about 70%. And I looked and I was like, I'm going to need to cut it by another 70. Like, if I really want to have this life with no storage unit, my goal is to have no storage unit, or if I do, it'll be my my parents' house is going to be just a few hours away from where my daughter's going to college. So she's got a couple of bins. They said we can free up space in the corner for a couple of bins if you're each of you. So it will really just be sentimental memories that I want to pass down to the kids. That's it. Nothing practical is going to be stored. I just got the sense that storage unit wasn't for me, at least not at this point in my journey. I do feel like there will be a time when I reestablish an apartment somewhere. I can kind of see it and feel it. It'll likely be on the coast. It will likely be in Southern California somewhere. It will likely be where I'll have a small place where I can kind of set up shop to be able to enjoy a walkable city living as well. But that's not now. Right now. Right now is about downsizing everything so that I can fit into a van. Yay. And so I looked at these 3 cupboards I had over my bed. I'm like, okay, well, that's going to be my in-season clothes, plus anything I would need while I'm in bed. So if I decide to keep any Oracle decks, or if I decide to keep my Kindle for reading, although I'll likely just consolidate down to my iPad. Again, how do I shrink the number of everything that I have, the number of electronics, the number of aids that I use, the number of really bring this thing home to the most simple, minimalistic life I could have ever imagined. It feels like the process of doing that is helping me shed what's really important, Jenny. What's really important? What do you really need? What is it that you keep around just in case? Or just because you like variety? It's been coming into my diet as well. I look at my food and I'm like, it's really going to be about, I have a very small fridge and I have a stove. I have no oven, no microwave, none of that. So it's really going to be about, and then I have a produce basket, a little bag, a little cool net up top that I can keep produce in. So it'll really be, I'll pick up groceries 2 to 3 days at a time. It'll be fresh foods, simply prepared. Nothing that requires anything fancy. I'll have all the herbs I need for seasoning, so that won't be a problem. Olive oil and coconut oil, because they're good for the body, the skin, as well as cooking. You've got a high temp and a low temp oil, right? So olive oil is great for dressings. It's also great for moisturizing the body, the hair, all that stuff. Facial, that kind of thing. Coconut oil is really good when you need heavy moisture someplace. And it's a high temp cooking oil. So and it's pretty, I wouldn't say completely neutral flavored, but it's decent. So say between the 2 of those, that's probably what I'm going to have. Maybe some ghee, possibly some ghee as well, just so that I can put butter flavor on things. I really do like good ghee, so we'll see. A couple different oils, some salt and pepper, probably a multi-spice blend, and boom, that's going to be like what I have for staples. Like, I'm not going to be keeping the bottle of mayonnaise and the bottle of all those things that basically require that you have storage, because I just have so little space. And so it's really going to be about what can I prepare fresh? What can I buy the ingredients for and make that day or two, and not have a lot of leftover stuff that I have to throw away or whatever. Very simple life that I'll be stepping into. And so the shedding has been really a process of healing old wounds, old attachments, old fears. What's going to happen if I'm going to let this go and then I need it? And that's been showing up in my body, in my life. But I just keep getting the message. I think I know why that was. This is so random. I now know what that phone call was for. See, that's how the mind works. I have a form I need to fill out for them. So I'll do that as soon as I hop off this recording. So I see threads weaving together. It looks like a DNA helix. So I'm going to go ahead and pause because that just means we're doing some work here on the DNA. And it's healing of that helix. So I'm just gonna hold my hands. I use physical movement, guys, because it anchors energy work. So I like to imagine I'm holding the helix and putting my hands on it, or I'm touching the parts of my body that I'm healing, because it really helps me connect to the flow of energy. Such a simple way. We have this gift of touch to activate our sensory experience, to draw us out of our head and back into our body where energy is felt and experienced. When we're up here, we don't experience it. When we don't experience it, it doesn't shift, which is why you can get so much value. There is a certain degree that we need to understand, right, what is going on. But if we stop here, we don't actually heal. We've got to like go through the feeling part, through the experiential part. That's the important part. I am processing through so much, guys. I've been on a lymphatic detox as well, homeopathic medicine. I'm on, like, I can just feel layers and layers and layers are just shifting out right now. It's physical, it's emotional, it's mental, it's beliefs, and now it's DNA. And this is actually someone else's DNA. I just want to do that. This DNA helix that's showing up for me is actually someone who's watching today. It's actually, or someone, oh, interesting. It's not someone who's watching, it's someone who's with me in spirit. Okay. So it's someone who's opted in spirit, but isn't necessarily physically watching, which can happen, by the way. There we go. So it's like a radiant sun now. It's fully online. And I'm feeling the need to like plug it back into its spot. I don't know what that means, but we're going to do that. And then it feels like the light needs to be balanced out. Oh, there's another healing on the other side. Like it was plugging into its spot, was on one side of the body, and then the other side felt imbalanced. Not body, but the one side. So that means there's a sister or a twin sister I'm getting. Again, I'm not using technical words because that's not how I operate or the level I'm operating on. I don't need to. If I try to get too technical, then I basically lose myself in details of what's happening, and it's not relevant. The point is that we're moving energy, and what I see is often representative or metaphorical enough for me to be able to work with it and roughly describe what's happening on an energetic level. But I don't, at this point and stage in my journey, to go in and really nail in on details. I end up limiting the impact I can make. So here's the deal. Humans understand about this much. Less than that, I'm being told this much about how we work. Thank you for the correction. This much. And I understand like this much because, you know, I'm not trained in a lot of these scientific concepts. And so when we try to limit to what we can understand, the analogy that I use is like you're trying to take what I can understand and you're running everything through that. You basically are taking the tap on the faucet and turning it down to 5%. And this 5% of your brain takes 90% of the energy that your body produces for your brain, like that your brain consumes. I should double check that fact. I don't remember if it's what the brain consumes or the body. I think it's the brain. But anyways, most of your mental energy goes into that part of your brain that's consciously trying to understand things. And so if you basically, it's like running your water pump on full tilt, but then having the faucet closed to 5%. And so in order to get to flow and ease, what we want to do is we want to use more of your processing capabilities. And those processing capabilities are present throughout your body and your neurons. And so you're allowing a full experiential understanding of things that essentially goes beyond conscious understanding. And you're doing it with, you can open up the faucet then. So you're running the water pump at a lower level and you're opening the faucet up more, so more of a flow of energy can come in. It's a really good analogy to use for the work that I do. So, in terms of rapid expansion, the key to flow and easeful abundance and rapid expansion, meaning that you're not limiting yourself, is not to box yourself in by what you can consciously understand. Because if you do that, the part of yourself that you work on gets smaller. So I think of it as like a great analogy would be if you have a program that you're trying to upgrade. If you say, I want to pull the beliefs, I have clients who will do this sometimes. Well, is it a belief or is it emotion? What is it? I need to know, what was the event? Well, the moment that we isolate in on that, I'm now only healing that tiny part of the program. But if I zoom out and I look at the whole thing, we can actually take that entire thing, pull it out. It's like taking the whole motherboard or the whole chip set, whatever, we're pulling it out, upgrading it and replacing it. Now I can work on a more macro level and they can have much more impactful results with much less effort because we're zooming out, right? And then we zoom in only where we need to, because if energy starts to feel stuck and we're not able to move it, then that means we need to go deeper into understanding, into experience, into something in order to be able to shift it. There's some sort of either conscious understanding or some sort of diving deeper within the layers, which is a form of separation in order to get back to the whole. And so every once in a while, but I once asked my guides what percentage of the time that's needed, and it's about 3. I'm getting even a little less than that, like 2 to 3% of the time. Otherwise, most of the time, zooming out and allowing it to be more of an expansive work is the more impactful way to go, the more easeful and impactful way to go. So I use a lot of terms that are not scientifically correct, and I do that by design because I don't want to lock us into a specific thing. It's just, this is a metaphorical or a relative concept that helps us understand. I was on a session last night and someone goes, it can't be that easy, but it is because I just felt it shift. They're like, I felt the symptom relief, so I know it's that easy. They did some energy work on themselves, because that's what I do on my groups, is I take people through guided energy alignments. I customize it to whoever's there or whoever has expressed intent to be there. And I work with the energy in their body, but I'm often just saying, okay, we're going to do this now, so go ahead and do it. And then they're shifting the energy by choosing to participate in that activity that I'm giving. They're shifting their own energy. Yes, I'm helping, for sure. But they have the power to do it on their own. And so that's a huge thing that I open up for people, is the power to work with your own energy. Because you have that, right? And they were like, it is literally that simple. I did not realize all these years it was that simple. I'm just shedding so much. It's good because that means my lymphatic cleanser is working beautifully. Come out, junk. Come on out. I'm ready. Oh my gosh. So the DNA part is not done. There's some integration now. Again, I feel like I'm doing this for someone. Actually, this part's for multiple people. So now it's like 2, I saw the 2 DNA helixes, and now there's like a thing threading them together, integrating them. The card that I got today to kind of feature was this card. So if you take a look at it, it's from my deck, Spirit Alignment. And the words on the back are, aligned to your spirit's flow. As our petals unfurl, your energy centers are synchronizing to your soul's flame. Feel that lightness through your body and know that you can choose this alignment at any time. So I'm going to choose in this moment to be aligned with my soul, with my spirit. You can look at this image, step into that feeling yourself. If there's a star above your head, you can opt into connecting to it and see a concentric circles forming around you. You'll notice I have some of those here. Those are representative of your field being activated. For you're connecting in, almost like you're connecting into the broader energy that you have access to. And it's washing over the back of the head. Okay, so I want to go back now. I'm going to keep this up for someone. There's the flame part is important for someone. So just let that flame alight. There we go. So the flame just expanded and now you're stepping into a whole flame. That's beautiful. There we go. If this card felt good for you, Bliss Tea on my site is a card that, or not a card, is a tea that allows you to step into this every day. Super nutritive. I actually have a integrative health clinic that sells this tea as one of their nutritive supplements as well. It's just got so much goodness in it. Moringa, alfalfa, basil, rose. There's just a lot of things in it that are good for the body. Astragalus, motherwort. So it kind of hits every key system in the body: immunomodulation, liver, nervous system, calming, specifically with the heart. So if you have any sort of palpitation, nervous stuff going on there, like I picked and selected herbs that kind of work with each center of the body and move the energy up and align it like a zipper, you know, all the way up. So not only is it super nutritive, it's also super aligning. So it's a great, from an energetic standpoint, it's also a great physical supplement. I have a couple of my teas that actually really work magic on both the physical and the energetic ends. Bliss is one of them. Another one is Heal. Heal is really, really well tuned for someone going through a physical healing process. There's other ones, but they're not relevant. Energize would be another one that's also very good for physical restoration, adrenal restoration, that type of thing. So not only are you getting the energy, but you're actually restoring the core stress resilience, stress response system, fight or flight, that whole thing. So picked herbs that kind of really work magic on the body and the energy. So all of the teas obviously bring that together, but there's a couple that do particularly provide some physical support that my doctor friends love. Anyways, there you go. So let's see. We're going to sit in that alignment a little longer. And it's funny, as I'm doing that, I'm getting back to this mug. And a new tea is coming in, Innocence. So I just downloaded a new tea this week. So teas come to me more and more easily now. I'll just get visions of a really a guide at this point. The tea comes in almost like a person with an energy. And so I sit with that energy until I can sense what it is, put a name to it. Sometimes the name comes later, sometimes the name comes at the beginning, sometimes the name changes. I put a placeholder name in. And then I describe the energy, what it does, the tagline, how it moves through the body. I sit and meditate with it, and then I start to receive plants. And it's actually kind of a fun game, because I don't typically know what the plants like. I see dried herbs, and so I get them in their live form. So the plants that come to me in a vision of what they look like fully in bloom. So it's like, what herbs have orange flowers? And I have to start Googling, because all of my herbalism knowledge doesn't always extend to that. But it's really cool, because that's how I add new herbs to my apothecary too, ones that weren't in my Materia Medica or curriculum at school. So this week I added safflower and read about that, studied it, learned about it, started working with it myself. Really beautiful. So I end up adding new herbs from different traditions around the world, and that's part of what makes my teas pretty magical and why they taste so completely different. This one actually tastes a little warm and aromatic, and kind of a gentle spice to it. It's got a lot of Indian spices in it. So this new tea, Innocence, is not the way you would think of innocence, not like purity in the way that we typically think of it, but it is innocence. It's innocence in that living with playful abandon and being able to disregard what other people think, right? That is a form of innocence. And that's the form of innocence that so many of us want to recapture. We've been hiding. We've been playing hide and seek, right? We're hiding, and we want to step into the light, and we want to be like almost oblivious, because and I don't say oblivious, but we want to be really aligned, because where we're naturally going is going to be what's good for the collective. But sometimes we get so hyper focused on what other people think of us that we start to move and make all these moves based on what other people think of us and not actually what's good for them or for us. Because what other people think of us has nothing to do with what's good for them or good for us. Like, that's what other people think of us is their judgments. It's their insecurities coming out. If somebody is making a judgment about you, it's their own. I mean, when I tell my daughter that all the time. When I get upset at her, it's my own insecurity. Because if I was truly in my standing in my own strength, she could be in pain, she could be lashing out, she could be anything, and I wouldn't be reacting to that. So whenever I'm reacting to somebody else's stuff, it's because I am in a state of less than, right? I'm feeling less than, I'm feeling powerless, I'm feeling small, I'm feeling vulnerable, I'm feeling inadequate, I'm feeling like what she thinks about me defines me, right? Otherwise I would be okay. And so a lot of the work that we do is about bolstering our own sense of being okay and at peace no matter what's happening around us, creating stability from within. And so innocence creates a playful abandon and helps you step into that playful abandon of, this is what I feel like wearing. This is what I feel like doing. I'm going to do it. And I'm no longer going to hold back because of what I perceive somebody else thinks about me or what they actually think about me or what they say. That's the kind of innocence that I want a lot of us to recapture. It's an interesting energy because this particular energy, she's like a youthful teenage energy, but without all the angst and hang-ups. So a little bit of the fuck it, I don't care, pardon my language, but a little bit of that energy, but lots of fun in kind of pulling in some of that childlike exuberance and fun and stuff like that, and without all the angst of teenage, but kind of a teenage energy. So it's a really neat mix of taking these aspects and eras of our life, like in our 50s where we stopped caring so much about what other people think, right? And in our childhood when we just lived with abandon and we weren't aware, right, that other people were responding or reacting to us. We're like, I don't know, the world revolves around me, right? A little bit of that, a little bit of the 50s, a little bit of the teenage fuck it, I don't care, right? And so it's all of that pulled together in this kind of very youthful, playful exuberance. And so that's the type of innocence that I was creating. I did not know that, by the way, when I started. That's the beautiful part. I start with like, okay, innocence, but I would expect innocence to be rose petals and, soft things. And no, this was definitely a very different vibe. As I started to sit with it, meditate with it. So I'm really excited for this tea. It tastes nothing like any of my other teas. It's spicy, and I love it. I'm really, really, really excited to put this one on the market soon. I can feel it. I was gonna make some this morning, but I got so excited to record, I didn't. So soon. And I think we're done today. So lesson of the day, really today's week was, I'm going to close the loop with the RV story because again, abundance and opening things up is the key thing. The RV story. So I had, I was trying to figure out, remember earlier I said grasping at trying to fix things is a big thing that I've had to work through in order to be the best healer I can be, because I got to love people exactly as they are. And so sometimes I'll feel myself stepping in and trying to do more and do more and do more. And so I was having that moment. I just checked in and I said, is there something else to do? And the words that came down was trust and then his name. Like, just trust your RV guy. And so I went to sleep and I got a call from him the next morning. He's like, I woke up in the middle of the night and had the best idea. And he took a project that was going to be thousands and thousands of dollars and turned it into a very, very, very simple, small project to serve the need that I had. And that is another classic example, guys, of creating the space to allow people to thrive. And that has been my lesson of this week. With when do I step in and lead and guide and inform and witness and create the shifts in this space around people so they can step into it? And when am I just holding them as whole, just the way they are, stepping back and letting the magic happen? So as you go through this week, this was a lot of like long-winded way of getting to this moment. As you go through this week, really allow that. Allow yourself to recognize, when am I running into walls because I need to be stepping back and letting this be as it is, or I need to be shifting and looking to the right instead of the left because something's over here. And I'm getting a nudge to tell you a little bit more about spatial. So I work with energy spatially. When I first started training for energy work, I had very linear models. They were muscle testing. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. And it worked fine. It was an interesting process because I was getting downloads that were way outside of the energy work already from the moment I was beginning. And so there was always a challenge of, when I was in certification, I had to do like 70 pure play sessions where I was only doing the method as they designed in order to get certified. And so I had all these other things happening that I had to say, I really want to do that for you, but I'm, doing this right now. And so I went through the first 2 layers of certification, and actually in the 3rd layer, I just stopped. I opted not to get the 3rd layer because it basically, to work within the constructs or confines of the method, was so limiting for me that I was not able to help my clients the way I wanted to. And I didn't even really want to do free sessions that way. It didn't feel aligned. I went to it for a reason. It was because going through the certification basically created a focus on that aspect of my life and healing. And I ended up developing my own tools about partway through the certification that don't look anything like theirs, but but being in an environment where I was focused on it for that long allowed those downloads to come through. And so I ended up having these, tools that first there's the tools that I was taught, and then there's the tools that I received via downloads, like images and different things that I received that I found worked really well with my clients. I could always tell when I was getting a tool because something would come in a session, either with myself or with them, and I would say, oh, let's figure out what to do with this. And then we would figure out what to do, and then it would be impactful. And then what would happen is that same tool would come up 3, 4, 5 times in the next week. And that's how I knew, okay, this is something to add to my toolbox, right? So I had a whole toolbox. And then I started getting this odd skill where I could just hear about someone else's toolkit that they'd built. Like someone said, oh, I went to a great session with an energy worker and they developed this thing called this, and they would just give the name, and suddenly I could see the entire energy construct around it and I could use it just from them talking about it. And then there was all the unique stuff for each person. So what was happening is, to organize all of these tools so I could work with them, I essentially created a spatial system, a spatial model. Okay, my tools I was certified in were to the right. These tools were to the left. Exploratory or go deeper in the body would be down, and up would be go up and out and start to work in the field. So, or with guides. So I could kind of like figure out where I was going to be going with the client. But as you can, if you're listening to me, you're realizing I was basically creating a decisions tree, a conscious structure to work with it. So eventually that became the limiter. I started to feel resistance and tension when I was going in and figuring out which tool to use. It was creating an extra unnecessary layer of mental organization around it I didn't need to have. And so what happened is that dissolved into what became spatial awareness. So now I just feel. I basically feel, where is the path open? And if I'm feeling a lot of walls, I zoom out and I literally visualize paths, and I'll see trees and forests, and then the trees, I can kind of feel what they are. So, okay, this is the trees that represents their current clients if they're asking me about a situation in life. The groves of trees become like the markers, if that makes sense, of things, the constructs they're asking about. And then basically I'll see their path go around, different, around, and then here, and then it merges back in with here. And so I can feel in the energy. It's almost like I'm feeling where the softness is, where the yes is. And through that can kind of give them a little bit of what their path may look like or feel like. And then we can get them, quote unquote, unstuck, right? If they're feeling stuck, because I can zoom out and see where that path's going. So all of that constructs turned into that. Plus now I see what I see, and I work with it. And if we're stuck, I just zoom out to see the path and kind of figure out, oh, okay, now I can, or I'll ask for an image, or I'll ask for a feeling, or we'll just touch the part of the body that feels stuck, and softly invite it to come forward. And then through that process, whatever needs to be brought forward will be brought forward for us to work with. So, but I had to go through all these steps, all these linear, breaking things down. Oh my God, this is Full circle. I knew it was going to be about digestion when my stomach was talking to me. I love this. Sorry, I get so excited when I'm rambling and going all over the place and suddenly all the pieces come together for me. I'm sorry if they aren't for you, because I know it's 45 minutes of rambling, but I get very excited. So basically, when you think about it, when I was developing my ability to work with energy, I was breaking it down to these parts, learning the parts, right? Just like digestion, we're breaking it down. It's the catabolic and anabolic metabolism. I can't remember which one is breaking down and building up. But one is the process of the body breaking down things into the core elements so they can be absorbed and utilized or rebuilt back up or reformed into other things. And so it's like, we break it down, we absorb it, we shift it, we transmute it, and then we build it back up, and then we get rid of the waste. That whole process is important. And so when I was starting to work with energy, I was doing the whole, how do I break this down into all these different parts and pieces? And then at some point, that very thing that was a door opener became a door closer, because it's like, now you're adding unnecessary layers. So now we're going to bring them back together into a cohesive unit that is perfect for you. And so that is what you're doing in energy work. You are exploring the nooks and the crannies so that you can create a construct to work with your own body's energy that feels good and easy for you. And why I can be a really helpful teacher for folks, and why, somebody was just saying how amazing the group was, because they received so much healing in that very inexpensive group session, which is great because it makes it accessible and still personalized. Just the way I run my groups, it ends up being very personalized to whoever's there. So you still get a level of personal healing at a fraction of the price. But what's really cool about it is you're building a toolkit as well. I once took a transcript of one of my recordings and threw it into AI and said, kick back to me all the tools that I used. And there was over 20 that got listed. So you're basically getting exposed to a large amount so that you can do much more rapidly than I did, because I went through the certification where it was very linear. I'm learning about a tool and then a tool, and that was a unnecessarily long process. And that's why people say it's so simple, because I can give you a bucket of 20. You can say, oh, these 3 are working really well for me right now, and we're going to add these on, and we're going to mutate these. And so you can go through this process of discovering your own method of working with your energy very rapidly. Very simply, because I can expose you to so many tools rapidly that you can pick from and then make them your own. And then eventually you realize that you don't even need somebody to expose you to tools, because we're getting them all the time, right? And that's a beautiful moment when people are like, oh my gosh, I'm getting tools every day. I just need to learn how to trust that and how to work with them, because we all have our own way of working with energy. But because I have such a large toolbox, I can give you a bunch of different ways, and chances are pretty good I'll find one that feels good for you. Well, more than one, because, that's kind of the point. So anyways, that is this whole process of digesting and then metabolizing and then eliminating. And so it's happening in every area of my life. So this week, let yourself digest, absorb, metabolize, figure out, discover these really cool ways of working, and then let them amalgamate back together in a way that perfectly serves you. So what are you ready to shed this week, to reconstruct, to transmute? If you're having digestive issues, oftentimes it's because of how you're digesting life and your energy. I know that sounds really funny, but they are mirrors of each other. So if there's something that you want to be able to more effectively digest and absorb, start playing. Start letting it break down and build up, transmute, and find me if you need some support on that. Chances are pretty good I got something that can probably help. So, see ya.